kind of late last week that were conflicting with the lunch with Lorcan or whatever they call it. So I apologize for that. We generally try to be more sensitive to that, but it just sort of happened that way. And so I do appreciate you taking the time to join us on this call. We think it's more interesting, but who knows. So what we want to do is show you Mobile 3.0. And this is the latest, greatest mobile release from Saleslogix. Works with a complete overhaul of the previous mobile versions. They've always had really a pretty decent mobile package. And today's version is really pretty spectacular in my opinion, and really just adds a tremendous amount of new features and functionality. And I'd go so far as to say it could in fact be a replacement for the full web client of Saleslogix. Saleslogix is so confident in that they're now offering this as a standalone package. So for cloud customers, they can actually subscribe to just the mobile client alone at a reduced price. And anybody, of course, that owns Saleslogix today, either cloud or on-premise, has access to this. If you're current on your maintenance, you can get the Mobile 3.0 and deploy that on your system at no extra charge. Now, it is compatible only with Saleslogix version 8 and 8.1, so you would have to be at that level for your central database site in order to use Mobile 3, but it is available now for anybody that wants to take advantage of it.
Scott, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yep.
I'm receiving some messages that people are having a problem hearing you and that your audio is coming in and out. I'm not experiencing that, but
okay.
It seems that others are.
Okay. Well, I'll speak up a little bit here, see if that helps. Sorry about that. All right. So now, obviously, I can't show you this on an iPad, so some of the functionality you're going to have to kind of bear with me as I describe a little bit more about what it does. The other things it will do on an iPhone or an Android device is it'll actually place the call for you. So when we land on a contact record and you click on their phone number, it's going to dial the phone for you. So it interacts with the operating system on the mobile device. And after the call is completed, it actually brings up a completed call screen in Saleslogix to allow you to type in your notes. Some of the other cool things you could do, and I do this too with Siri, is I touch on the Siri icon instead of the keyboard and actually talk into the phone and tell it what my notes are about the call I just made. It does a great job of saving all those notes and saves me a lot of trying to type that out on the tiny keyboard. So those are just some of the things you'll be able to see and use, but I can't show you that today. Obviously, we're not using a mobile device to do this. We're just running this inside of a browser. I'm just using Firefox. So if that's handy to you, you can use the mobile website right inside of a browser on a laptop or a desktop as well as your phone. So it basically works pretty much the same. So some of the differences are they got rid of the home icon for those that have used the older versions of mobile, 2. And 1. Whatever. And so now it's actually a live pane on the left side of the screen that's always available. So in the upper left corner, we have this icon with the 3 blue dashes. No matter what screen you're in the mobile client, anytime you click on that particular icon, it reveals the nav bar to you. So this is going to look very similar to the nav bar on the LAN and the web client. And I believe they're doing that on purpose, just trying to bridge the gap for users so they're not having to learn two very different interfaces. I love this. This is great the way they've done it. Some of the other things they've done is they've added a back button. That was another kind of frustrating part about the older mobile client is you could only always go back to the home screen. So you always had to go back to home. And in this new version, as you click the back button, it actually navigates backwards through the software, kind of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. And so as I click back, it's cycling me back through all the screens I recently visited in the system, okay, which is pretty cool, I think. Now, I don't have a blue arrow here now because this is where I started when I logged in today. So I can always go back here to the nav bar and go to a new destination in the system. Something else they've added, I'll kind of start at the top here, is they've added speed search. And those that are familiar with speed search, it's a global or universal searching feature that looks at every piece and part of Saleslogix. So it spans every table, whether it's accounts or contacts or leads or history or activity. Every piece of Saleslogix is indexed. So if you type a word into the speed search box and hit speed search, it's going to scour every nook and cranny of your Saleslogix in an attempt to find matching records that have that word or a similar word. Because you'll notice I typed in the word print, but it also brought up accounts that have printing in their name. And they've also done some things like they've color-coded, and you'll see that here, orange and green and blue. It'll make more sense on some of the other screens. But you can see that DVT Printing is a company, and we have the company icon over on the right. It also found a contact at that company, and so there's that contact record. And we've also got some changes in the database that have taken place that would have that word in them. And if you keep scrolling down, it's doing what they call a lazy load. And a lazy load means as you scroll down, it continues to serve up more and more and more records. And that's done to minimize the amount of data that has to flow back and forth. This list could have returned thousands of records, but I don't want to sit on my mobile device and wait while it downloads 1,000 records. So it presents these to you as you scroll down. So we have a to-do here that would have the word print in it as well. Now you can click on, these are live links. So if we go to automotive printers, I can just click on the name of that account. And now we're looking at the account record, automotive printers. So let's go back here, and you'll also see that you can expand and collapse some of these items, some of these menu bar items. Again, my screen is pretty large today, but you can imagine using it on an iPhone. Real estate is at a premium. So as a user, you can sort of toggle on and off how much of what you're seeing at any one time is consuming your screen. So we can turn that on and off just by clicking that up and down arrow. So let's talk about the nav bar a little bit. You can see your activities on here, a graphical calendar, notes and history that have recently been added to the system. And this does honor the security that's in place for Saleslogix. In other words, if you don't have access to notes and history records, for example, that are belonging to accounts you don't have access to, you're not going to see those. So the security model that's built into Saleslogix is enforced in the mobile client as well. Accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, and tickets. And then finally, attachments. This is another pretty exciting area they've added. It's actually amazing that they can do this. So not only are there attachments available, and I'll show you some of that in the demo record I have, you can open attachments. Now, with that, your mobile device has to be able to open the type of attachment you're trying to open. And so if it's a Word doc or a PDF, you have to have software on the mobile device that's capable of opening those types of packages. The good news is mine opens all this stuff, and I didn't pay for any of it. So everything was free just by getting the right applications. You can pretty much open anything, including documents and image files, spreadsheets, and even websites, and I'll show you that. Also on the nav bar, if we look at the configuration menu, this allows you to control what you see in the nav bar. So if you're a company that really doesn't use tickets, you can turn that off. And so now if we go back to the nav bar, well, I have to refresh the screen, but tickets would be gone from the system. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. So you can deactivate any of these nav areas you don't want to see. But you might, okay, maybe you do use tickets a lot. You can also move that up the list by clicking up and down on the blue arrows. So you can rearrange the nav bar the way you want to see it and put the things that are most important at the top. So this isn't going to stick until I log in and back out, but I think you get the drift of that. Also, we have a settings menu. Saleslogix will remember your login credentials. So it's an icon on your iPhone, iPad, or Android. just like all the other apps on your home screen. And you can actually ask it to store your username and password, but maybe you don't want it to do that. And so you can clear your credentials out by clicking on that so it doesn't remember them. You can also clear the offline storage. I want to talk about that a little bit too. It does require a live connection to your to the Saleslogix database to function. And so this is a web browser app-based application, and so it's reading and writing data in real time back to your home office database or in your cloud server, depending on how you have it deployed. But all of these mobile devices have the ability to cache or store offline data. And the way they do that is you can actually set that up. I know on the iPhone you can set up in the Safari browser how much memory on your mobile device you want to allow to be a storage container for websites that you've recently visited. And so that applies to Saleslogix. Saleslogix can consume that block of memory you've reserved for offline browsing. And so the amount of data is very tiny, and so even without a really large cache on your phone, you can store Saleslogix screens and pages offline. Now, you can't control what screens and views it stores. It's simply remembering every place you've recently visited. So an example would be you may be going to visit one of your accounts, tab it limited, and you wanted to look at the history and the notes, and so you clicked around on that before you arrived and lost your data connection. Now, when you walk in, all that data is going to be there because it's remembering it and storing it in memory. Now, what you can't do, of course, is you can't update records when you're offline. It'll give you an error saying it can't connect. But all the screens you recently visited, you do have visibility to that. Really cool feature. I'm glad they took advantage of that. So let's take a look a little deeper here at some of these destinations. Now, we're looking at activities. And this is just as you would expect. This is your activities. And right now I have a filter turned on that says only show me this week's activities. Like typical sales guy, probably have hundreds of activities, but I don't want to see them all on this little screen. So you can define what activities you want to see. And they've introduced a functionality called hashtags. And hashtags is very similar to groups in Saleslogix. You can't have groups of activities, but in the mobile client, you can establish pre-built filters. They call them hashtags. So this is something your developer business partner would do for you. They can build for you predefined hashtags which apply a filter. So if I wanted to see just today, I can click on today, and I only have one activity for today because that's the filter I have, or the hashtag I have in force at this time. You can also do searches for keywords in every one of the different areas of Saleslogix. And before I go further, I want to talk about that a little bit, because the other thing you'll have over here in this other area is the help screen. So this is online, this is on the mobile device. And I wanted to bring this one up because here is what you can search on with keywords in that lookup field I was just on. So in addition to the hashtag filters, you can search in the accounts area for accounts that start with whatever the letters are you typed in. In the contacts area, you can type in there the first name or the last name starts with. So if you typed in an A, it's going to try to find all the contacts that have either their first name or their last name that starts with an A, and it's going to present you with a list of those records. So as you can see, you can do several of these types of key letter lookups depending on where you are in the system. Again, this is out of the box. This is what they're giving you, but this is all configurable. So maybe you have a custom field in your database on leads or something like that. The developer at your company or your business partner can add other fields to make them searchable in the mobile client. Now keep in mind, this particular type of search I'm describing here is only when you're in a particular entity area, like let's go back to accounts here. I don't want to confuse this with the speed search, because with speed search, there are no rules or restrictions. the first searching I showed you in speech search, this searches everything for that word or letter or whatever you want to put in there. Where with this lookup field, now that it's in the accounts area, it's going to show me all the accounts that start with an A because I typed in the letter A. And sure enough, there are 14 of them. And so as you scroll down, you'll see all the accounts that you have access to that start with the letter A. So that's the list we're looking at now. And of course, you can clear this out. You can click on the X, clear it out, and now no filters are applied. I'm back to seeing all 287 accounts I have access to. Okay, so let's look at the calendar now, another really nicely improved area. You have a day view, you have a week view, and you have a monthly view, which is a graphical view, very similar to the full-blown web client. Now, the other thing you can see here is, as I click on a particular day of the week, I clicked on Thursday the 3rd, before I even clicked on it, I knew I had 6 activities. I see that 6 there, but I've also got 3 of them over here on the 7th. So if I click over there, you're going to see those activities over here. And so you can move around on the monthly calendar and take a look at your activities that are scheduled on that particular day. Now, you'll see a plus sign throughout the mobile client as well, and this is where you would add new calendar items. So I was in the calendar area, and because I clicked on the plus sign, it's now asking me, well, what kind of activity do you want to schedule? And this is where you can see the color coding comes into play also. So we can schedule it to do, and it has pick lists built into it, and these are the same pick lists that the web client uses. So all these pick lists carry forward and are adjustable in the mobile client if you want them to be. So everything you're familiar with. Now the buttons are nice and big. It's not that cool when I'm showing you it now, but you're trying to do this on a tiny phone with your finger. It's nice that these buttons are really easy to touch and click on, and you can just activate things by doing that. And then you also have lookups in here too. So if you want to schedule an activity for a different user, I'm logged in as Lee Hogan, but I can schedule this for Ken, one of my colleagues, if I want. And then you can link it to accounts, contacts, opportunities, and tickets, just like you can in the regular web client. And then you click your Save button, and it saves that new activity for you. So let's take a look at opportunities now. There's some cool things going on in here. You'll notice that we have an activity in here, and what you may have seen so far is these big blue areas, and these are KPIs. And these KPIs are little miniature dashboards that are built into the mobile client. And they give you a few of these to choose from right out of the box, and I am using this out of the box. I haven't done anything to it. And so there's a few of those in there that are pretty neat to look at. And let's go to back to activities, for example. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's go to tickets. And you'll see there's one ticket in the system. It shows you the open average days. Not that exciting because there's not a lot of data in here. But it would show all the tickets you have access to on top of that little dashboard or KPI item. Okay. Look at notes and history, and this is a little more interesting. So yeah, here we have my history, and it shows you how many different activities I've had. So it shows you a count and then a bar indicating of all the activities you have, how many were phone calls, how many were appointments, how many were notes, that sort of thing. So again, they're starting to migrate the dashboards, they call them KPIs in the mobile, over into the mobile client. So the sky's really the limit on what you could see there. I think it's pretty cool stuff. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is attachments, another feature that's just amazing to me. They were able to put that in here. So now I'm back at the account area and looking at Abbott Limited. And when I land on this list view, and again, you can scroll up and down, it'll lazy load more records as you keep scrolling. But back here at the top, let's look at Abbott Limited. It always presents you with the last 3 history items. These are the last 3 things that have gone on with this company. But you can also ask it to load 3 more. So you can say, well, I want to see 6. I need a little bit more information before I walk into this account. But then ultimately, you can also click on See the List, and it's going to show you all of the activities rolled up chronologically for Abbott Limited. Now you'll see the color coding come into play because phone calls are green, to-dos and notes are orange, and emails are going to be in here. Meetings are blue. So we can take a look at this meeting. And you notice this little black down arrow over on the right. These are quick actions. And so all these records have quick action capability. And so, for example, I can add an attachment to this activity, just like you can in the web and the LAN client. I can also choose the contact, link it to an opportunity, and link it to an account or go to that account from here. So these are quick actions. And if we jump back to the account view, sorry if I'm jumping around a lot here, you can do the same thing. If you click on the black down arrow button, you can add an attachment to the account. So we just left the activity area. You can add an attachment to an account. You can add an activity, a note. You can add a contact. You can also call the main number from here or edit this record. So if you go into the edit mode, we are now editing the Abbott Limited. And because this is a live connection, if you make changes here, this is going to show up immediately for all the other users on their mobile and on your central site on the web client for the office users. Okay. So let's cancel out of here, which is what that red little box is, and let's go into the Abbott Limited record. And if we scroll down, here you see the various tabs that you would typically see in the web client. You've got the activities for Abbott, contacts, opportunities, tickets, but let's look at attachments. So here in the Attachments tab, these are the attached files that are part of the Abbott Limited record. And if I want, I can edit them from here. I can add new attachments if I want by uploading them from the mobile device. And so I ran outside and took a picture of, let's see if it comes up here, a couple of people from the Saleslogix Partner Conference. So Tricia Kate and Paul Cannon are a couple of the vendors there. Caught them in a hug. Now they were on my phone. Now they're in my Saleslogix because I added this to the record. So if you go back one screen, you can see that I've attached some other files here. There's PDFs, and there's a PowerPoint, a CSV file, Word docs, and so forth. And again, if you have the software on your mobile device that enables you to look at this kind of a document, it's going to open that up for you on the mobile device. Very cool. Okay, well, Bree, that was everything I was hoping to show today. Is there any questions that have come up during the presentation?
That was great, Scott. Yeah, we do have a couple, and
sure.
Now's a good time. If you out there have a question, go ahead and type that into the question pane. But we will start out with, can you search on first name and last name at the same time?
Yes. Because those are the two search fields that are active for a contact, it is actually a simultaneous search. So the answer is yes, it will search for both.
Okay, our next question is, we are on 7.5.4, and would you recommend waiting for 8.1 or upgrade to 8.0 to take advantage of Mobile 3?
You know, that's always a double-edged sword because I love some of the new features in 8.1. We've been a beta tester, and I've been playing with it for about a month now, and it's getting very close to release. I'm anticipating probably toward the end of December it'll be out. So if you're not in any big hurry, I would say wait for 8.1. I think it's worth it. They've overhauled the whole synchronization to Outlook. It is really, really good, really solid. It also is going to introduce Google Sync for companies that use Gmail or other Google-based services. It's going to include native synchronization to like Google Docs and Gmail, for example, which kind of breaks the all of the old mandatory Outlook integration that had to be there for email and so forth and for Word. That's pretty cool to me for companies that want to maybe get away from using Outlook So I would say probably wait if you're not in any big hurry. Certainly if you're planning an upgrade now, it probably would be at least 30 days or more before you'd be ready to pull the trigger anyway. So I think it'll be out by then.
All right. The next question is, does the mobile client still use Dojo Argo's SDK?
Yes, it does. That is the development environment it uses. It's the same as the previous one.
Okay. Our next question is, for local storage, you mentioned it saved the last forms you were on. In the future, will Saleslogix make this like a briefcase where you can select the account and contact info to be stored locally on a mobile device? If I understand correctly, if you don't open a specific item, then you will not be able to access it offline.
That's a great question. It came up several times at the Saleslogix conference, and the answer is yes. That is one of the very, very next features they're going to be adding to mobile. And so what you are going to be able to do is subscribe to accounts, which is pretty cool. So in the web client and or in the mobile client, you're going to be able to add records to a group, and that group will always be available to you offline. So you're going to be able to pick your favorite accounts or your top accounts or whatever you want to do. And you'll also be able to pick, like your activities and calendars and some of that stuff that you really need to know about when you're on the road. Great question. Absolutely, yes. It is at the top of their feature list that they're going to be adding to mobile. Now, it still uses the cache that's built into the browser. At least that's my understanding of it. But you're going to be able to choose what records you want offline, even if you haven't visited them prior to breaking your data connection. So that is definitely coming.
All right, our next one is, does the UI allow for theming?
For what?
For theming.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
If the person who asked this question, if you want to type in a little more of a description of what you're looking for, we can try and get that answered. All right, the next one is, can you make changes and updates to the sales process and opportunities in the mobile version?
Let's go to an opportunity here and go into this particular one. I knew the answer was no, but I just wanted to confirm they didn't sneak it in on me. I'm using beta 5 of 8.1, and they are continuing to add more code, so I just wanted to check myself. Unfortunately, the answer is no. Sales processes are not supported in this release. I know that they are planning to be in the mobile 3. That is another one of the top features that people are requesting. So at this point, no, but it is coming.
Okay. Would the Microsoft Surface use web client or mobile client? Are you familiar with the Surface, Scott?
Yeah, either one, actually. Because of the IE browser, you can use the full Saleslogix web client now. It's going to be a very tiny screen, even on a Surface, which is a bigger tablet, but it's still going to be pretty condensed. But can you use it? Yes. So you can use either one, your choice. Same with an iPad.
Okay. Is the mobile client still SData dependent?
Absolutely it is. It leverages all of the data feeds that are coming and going from the mobile are based on an SData adapter, so it absolutely uses the SData for moving data back and forth. Yep.
Okay. Can the admin configure default settings for which modules are seen and what order they are in? For example, hiding the tickets. And I'm wondering if, okay.
No, that's a user by user thing.
All right, let's see what else we have. Is the mobile version customizable the same way as core Saleslogix?
It is yes and no. It is completely customizable. In other words, there's no compiled code in the actual interface itself. And so all of this is mobile web screens and is editable. It does not use the application architect, so you do have to manually edit the web pages themselves to make modifications to it. In fact, I'll put in a little plug for Customer FX here. We actually wrote a web development toolkit for mobile. It's a free download if you go to our website. And what it does is it allows you to very quickly and easily establish mobile development environments for you. There are a fair amount of moving parts to getting all that set up manually. So our little toolkit allows you to set up multiple different development environments for the mobile application. We use it internally. I know a lot of other business partners too, and feel free to download that to help you if you want to get into developing in mobile.
Okay, our next one is, we're on 752 LAN, and if I understand correctly, we can upgrade to version 8 and add the mobile client and roll it out on iPad, iPhone, etc., and there's no cost. Is that correct?
As long as you have a current maintenance agreement, a business care plan, and you're current on that, absolutely. That's what your hard-earned dollars are going for, is providing you with the latest, greatest versions of Saleslogix. So you can log into the support site and download the new software today if you wanted to.
All right, Scott, back to that theming question. What he was referring to is things like applying color changes or custom icons, company logos, etc.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, of course, you can do that. Absolutely. And I actually saw at the Saleslogix conference, one of the customers was a presenter there, and they showed a custom mobile app, and it was amazing. I mean, they changed everything. It had their logos and their colors and some really cool mapping features and showed accounts on a map. And so the answer is absolutely. Everything you see can be changed and rebranded and skimmed and themed and whatever you want to do to it. There's no limitations, practical limitations to doing that. So absolutely yes.
Okay, the next one is, where is the best place to obtain documentation for extending the GUI?
Boy, that's a good question. My first answer is on the support site, but I'll be honest, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of documentation on the support site about developing in mobile. I'm going to throw out another plug here for Customer FX, because you're going to find a ton of that stuff on our website. So you really have two choices. You can go ahead and search the customer portal from Saleslogix, their website, with all their documentation and software. But then on the Customer FX site, we've got quite a bit of content up there as well. Even show you, videos of our developers making modifications in there. And so there's a wealth of information in those two places. But I don't know that Saleslogix has officially produced a development document for mobile. My first reaction is no.
Yes, Scott, I don't believe that they have.
I don't think they have it either. So you kind of, you're going to have to do a little searching and scratching. I would certainly download our mobile development toolkit and then search our website for our documentation and videos on how to get going on it. I think that's probably your path of least resistance.
All right, the next one is, does the mobile client support Windows authentication?
It does, yep. And so if you have that active on your central server and you have that activated for your LAN and web client logins, the mobile client uses the same web DLL to pass data to the database and through the provider. So it does honor Windows authentication.
Okay. When showing accounts on a map, is there a cost associated with Google Maps, or has that been resolved and mapping added?
I guess I didn't know there was a cost.
I wasn't aware of that either.
Yeah. Whoever asked the question may know something that I don't about this, but and so the mapping capability is built into here, and I guess I didn't know that it was ever something you had to pay for, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure on that one.
All right.
I know on my iPhone, for example, it brings up the Apple map, which has gotten better, and I'm assuming on a Windows or an Android device it brings up Google Maps, but I'm not positive about that.
Okay, our next one is, we have about 30,000 contacts. If I search for a very common name, such as Thomas, and I pull up 300 and so contacts, is there a way in advanced search on the LAN client to search for the first few characters of the first name? Oops, I'm losing my place here. First few characters of the first name and first few characters of the last name at the same time? No.
On the LAN client?
That's what he wrote, but I'm not sure if he's wondering this actually for mobile. Is that possible
on the LAN?
mobile?
Yeah. On the LAN client, no. The LAN client only has one searchable field at a time. In the web client, you can add multiple search criteria to your lookups and your searches. So yes for the web, no for the LAN.
Okay. We're on 754. Can we use mobile 3.0 or do we have to move to 8?
Have to move to 8. You can use mobile 2.0, which is still pretty good. I mean, it's not as cool as everything I showed you today, but it still has a lot of very useful information on mobile too. So if you maybe just want to kick the tires on mobile, you could deploy 2.0 on your system and give it a whirl, and then move to 8.0 and 3.0 in the future.
All right, Scott. Well, that is all we have. And in regards to the Google Maps, someone else chimed in and said that there's a cost depending on how many queries to Google Maps you make.
Really?
Something we might want to look into more. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for offering that up. We'll look into that. I guess I wasn't aware of that, but it doesn't surprise me. They are a for-profit company, so they monetize it somehow.
Well, that is all we had today, Scott.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time here. I know, again, we're competing with Lorcan. They do record those, and so you'll probably get an announcement in a day or two, and you can watch the the video of Lorcan's Lunch and Learn. So you didn't miss it. You missed it today, but hopefully this was worth your time. Thanks, everybody, for attending, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a great afternoon. Bye.